We know that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world, should be the 3-time reigning MVP. We saw what Jamal Murray did in the playoffs after he was fully recovered from that ACL. We know who he is. Is Michael Porter Jr. the key to the Nuggets going back to back, guys?
I really think he is. And by key, like obviously Jokic matters the whole time. I mean, is if they don't have Jokic, it doesn't matter. If they lose Murray, it doesn't matter. Like the question doesn't matter. They're the road to the finals is damn near impossible at that point. But in the terms of repeating, he is so critical because I think one, if he has a larger role in the offense that takes pressure off of Murray and Jokic throughout the season and kind of allows them to rest a little bit. The other thing too, when we were kind of talking about this before, Dave, and you know, it might be, can he accept being Manu Ginobili? Like honestly, like when you look at the Nuggets, their weakness is their bench. They don't have a lot of depth. They lost Bruce Brown, so now there's a hole at that position. Is Christian Brown gonna take that spot? You do that, you move him, you move Porter to the bench. You at least have more offensive firepower coming off the bench and have that ability to have more staggering sort of attack offensively. And the question is he going to get a lot of touches when he's in the starting unit? Like there's it's an important thing of how they handle him, how he handles it, and how the everything works around him. I think it's a huge question and an important one that needs to be answered by Denver.
So this is an interesting situation in that he's not up for a new contract soon. He showed a lot of growth in the everything else area of his game last year. I mean, there were a number of games in the playoffs last year where he didn't shoot the ball well, where we thought he played pretty well. And that was sort of inconceivable to say that about Michael Porter Jr. for most of his career. And they won the title. So the question is, how is there potential for sort of dodging the disease of more in that case, where, hey, this is pretty good. Like I can fit in wherever, and there's going to be nights where we call on me, and there's going to be nights where we don't, and this is great because we're right there again. I kind of think that the key for them though is still Aaron Gordon. I think he was under. I think his sort of defensive Swiss Army-ness was undersold last year, and it worked in part because Porter was credible on that end, but he was credible in sort of picking up the leftovers of whatever. All right, well, okay, Aaron, you got that guy. And it was anyone 1 through 5. And, him continuing to do that, him staying healthy, him continuing to be that force, him continuing to, do that defensively and then compete in transition the other end. That was a big part of their offense, I thought, last year was sort of his early rim runs. So I do think that if we're talking like, the unheralded, maybe I'm just saying sort by third best player after Jokic and Murray, but I think that's still Gordon, even though he does it in a way that's never going to sort of get him the praise as someone with Porter's offensive explosiveness has.
But I think the thing about Aaron Gordon is this is all the stuff we know he can do. And that's like, this is what I expect from Aaron Gordon. Right. Like that's why the difference for me, that like, that's not a question of what you just described, everything Aaron Gordon brought to the table, but that's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, like it's, if Porter becomes the third best player and supplants Gordon in that area,
Oh,
then
it's
it
over.
becomes, it's
over.
It's a whole different game.
Yeah.
Now, right. And like, that's actually what needs to happen. It's for them to
Like,
have, they're having a dynastic view of things.
yeah,
That's what needs to happen.
if his floor game all next season is kind of what it was through the back half of the playoffs next year, or was in the back, sort of the last 2.5 series, I'd say last year, if his general floor game is at that level all season, good luck.
That's my point.
They have the best starting 5 in the league. As far as there's no holes, there's no question marks. Like you kind of know this is the floor, at least highest floor, I would say. Their ceiling is also championship level. So
I'd say they're probably, them and Boston are probably right there in terms of the best starting 5. I think Boston has a lot of no holes in their sort of their position. I have questions about other things for
Age.
Boston.
Yeah.
No, not even that. But like we that's another podcast for another time.
Yeah.
But like
perhaps even next week.
Maybe.
possibly. But I think that is those are probably the two best starting fives, and it's probably like like right next to each other. With all of that. So, but they're right there. Yeah, I mean, they're the top team in the West. Like, to me, it's no question.